Alright guys, the T20 Cricket World Cup was an absolute disaster. I'm going to talk about the main reason why it was a disaster. But first of all, it was screwed up to begin with because of the pandemic. It was initially meant to take place in Australia in 2020. That didn't happen because of the pandemic. Then it was meant to take place in India, and then that was scrapped, and instead it took place in the United Arab Emirates and Oman. So the UAE had 3 venues, Oman had 1. We're going to be looking at those venues in a while and see what happened. But the main reason this tournament was a disaster wasn't because of the pandemic and the postponements and the change of venues. It was because luck played such a huge part in who won this tournament. It's unbelievable to say this, but coin tosses actually determined who won a lot of these games. It's a real sign of a screwed up sport and a flawed sport that coin tosses can decide matches, but we're going to see exactly what happened here. This format of cricket, 20 overs, so teams get 20 overs each. The actual game of cricket is played like over 5 days. It's test cricket where there's no limit to the overs in theory. You just keep bowling until you bat all 10 batsmen out, and then the next team bowls and they bat and so on. So this format, it's a pretty new 20 overs. Now there's a 50 over format as well. But the 20 over format means that the games just don't go on forever and ever like the test cricket. This is an idea that came about just to try and get more people interested and try to limit the amount of time it takes to play a game. But as we're going to see, because the format is reduced, there's more luck involved, and it's really terrible. So, does batting second in T20 World Cup cricket offer a crucial advantage? A statistics professor explains. So, this article written by Christopher Dravandi, a professor of statistics, he goes into the numbers here. So, the allegation is that batting second gives you a huge advantage. So, why would that be? Well, there are a couple of reasons. Chief among them is knowing exactly what score will win the game and being able to plan the innings accordingly. So the team who bats first sets the target score for the team who bats second. So batting second, you know what the target is. You need, if the team batting first gets 150 runs, you know that all you have to do is get 151 runs and you win the game. So you can plan your strategy accordingly. You can work out how many runs you need for every over. That gives you a huge advantage because the team who bats first are batting blind, if you like. They don't know what the projected score is for them. So in every 20 over game, this is just the case. Now also, weather makes a difference. As the afternoon or evening progresses, dew can also form on the ground, making it harder for bowlers to get a grip on the ball and for fielders to retrieve it. So the weather, you get a slippier surface developing. That suits the team who bats. So we have 2 huge reasons why batting first is a huge disadvantage and batting second is a huge advantage. Now let's look at some of the stats from the tournament. Of the 45 matches played at the tournament, 29 were won by the team batting second. So that's about 64%. Now, what are the odds that 64% would happen in 45 matches? So we're going to look at the statistics here. He goes into it. So we're talking probability. And funnily enough, he's talking about 50-50 chances. So coin tosses, that's where you do your probability statistics. What are the chances of heads or tails? So what's the probability of obtaining 29 or more batting second wins out of 45 matches if the true winning chance were 50-50? So if the teams were matched exactly, now this obviously isn't the case, but if it were, how many times would you expect 29 or more? So the probability is 4% for 29 or more. So I'm going to show you this calculator and show you how he got to this. So the number of flips here, so these are the number of matches, 45. So you want to have at least 29 heads. So there we go. Chance of success 3.62. So he rounds it up to 4%. So those are the odds of 29 or more games. If it's a pure 50-50, there's only less than a 4% chance that you get 29 of one outcome, which would be the team batting second. So the odds are really tiny. Now he's saying here that there's only 45 matches, so it's not a huge data set, but honestly I think 45 is decent enough sample. It's not brilliant, but so he's saying there's a non-negligible probability 4% that this pattern arose by chance. I disagree with that. I mean, yeah, the probability is greater than 0, but he's downplaying it a little bit. But he goes into other factors. Now, there's 4 venues in this tournament, and we're going to see here, he did a graph showing you, so in red you have the lower ranked team batting second, and in blue the higher ranked team batting second. So you'd expect the higher ranked team batting second to have a huge advantage, and sure enough, for Dubai, which is one of the venues, the higher ranked team who batted second in Dubai won every single match. So the probability was 1.0, they won every match. And now look at the lower ranked team batting second. So for Dubai, here's Dubai. They won almost all the games as well. So in Dubai, there was a huge advantage for the teams batting second, even if they were ranked lower. Now here he got the rankings. So the teams are given a ranking. England are the top ranked team in 20 over cricket. And it just goes down the list here. But if you look at the other venues, this advantage is not as clear, especially for Muscat. So in Muscat, the lower ranked team batting second, which you'd expect them to lose, they lost almost all the games. The higher ranked team batting second, they won a little more than half. So here's the dotted line with half. So with Muscat, it wasn't as clear. The advantage was not as clear. Now we're going to go into some of these results and see what happened. Dubai is a stadium where you really need to bat second, whereas in Muscat it's not a huge factor at all. Now in these other 2 venues, Sharjah and Abu Dhabi, again it's skewing towards teams batting second, especially in Abu Dhabi. We see the higher ranked team batting second winning almost all the games, and the lower ranked team batting second winning close to half the games. So in Abu Dhabi, we're starting to see a trend here as well. So definitely Dubai, and to a lesser extent Abu Dhabi, batting second is very, very important. Not as much in these 2 other venues. So interesting statistics there. So let's have a look at some of these games and see what happened. We had 2 stages of the tournament. We had the lower ranked teams batting out to get into the group stage. In the first game, the Netherlands won the toss and elected to bat, interestingly. And they ended up paying a heavy price because they lost against Ireland. Ireland won this game easily. If you look at which teams won, teams that win by wickets bat second. Teams that win by runs bat first. So you'd expect to see, 29 of these you're going to see won by wickets and 16 won by runs. And in a lot of the games where the teams win by runs, it was the stronger team batting first. In this game, Ireland won the toss and elected to field, which was the right choice, but they still lost because Sri Lanka is a much stronger team than Ireland. So even though Ireland had the advantage of batting second, they still lost by 70 runs, which was a big defeat. Ireland, interestingly, won the toss and elected to bat. They lost against Namibia, so this looks like it was a terrible choice from Ireland. Namibia beat them. And we have a whole bunch of games here. Now, Scotland, remember the games in Muscat where it kind of bucked the trend? This is down to Scotland for the most part. Scotland beat Bangladesh. Now, this was an upset because Bangladesh are one of the better sides. They're like in the top tier. Scotland beat Papua New Guinea. Now, Papua New Guinea are not a great side. So, this is a big upset here. Scotland beating Bangladesh. Bangladesh won the toss and elected to field. So this is why the Muscat stats were less predictable in terms of who won the toss. So Scotland really had some great results here by batting first and winning their games especially against Bangladesh. Here we go again in Muscat. Bangladesh batted first and they won, but that was against like a poor side, Papua New Guinea. So the Muscat, interesting results there. Now look at Group 1. So this is the main tournament. So we 2 groups, Group 1 and Group 2. And here we're really going to see how batting second gives you a huge advantage. So look at all these matches here. The team who bats second wins. Australia winning by wickets, and runs here. So West Indies beat Bangladesh. Bangladesh fielded. So again, Bangladesh had a really poor tournament. They lost games they should have won. So Was it that Bangladesh just really performed poorly in this tournament as opposed to this coin toss not mattering? Who knows? But Bangladesh, it looks like they had opportunities to win games that they lost. And again, here look, wickets. Now here was a big result for England. They beat Sri Lanka by runs, so England batted first and won this game. Now let's look at the rankings. England are actually ranked number 1. Sri Lanka ranked 9. So Sri Lanka kind of like at the bottom of the top tier of teams. England at the very top. So was it a huge advantage here for Sri Lanka? I don't know. It's hard to tell. But England won by batting first. So that kind of bucked the trend. But England are ranked like 8 places higher than Sri Lanka. So again, looking at these results, I think it reaffirms the fact that batting first is a huge disadvantage. Again, South Africa winning by wickets here. Wickets, runs. So again, Sri Lanka winning by runs here. So the West Indies, again, I guess they probably should have won, but Sri Lanka won that one. Now here was one of the biggest wins of the tournament. South Africa beat England by 10 runs. So South Africa batting first. So that was a huge win for South Africa, but it didn't help them because if we look at the table here, it was England and Australia that advanced. Now South Africa almost got through. They had the same number of points, but they lost out on the net run rate. So it was England and Australia that prevailed. And Bangladesh had a really terrible tournament. There's no other way to put it. Now these teams, these are all top ranked. These are all the top tier teams. So Bangladesh had a tough group and they are ranked like 8 out of the top 10. Just ahead of Sri Lanka and West Indies, which are in the same group. So Bangladesh had a really bad tournament. And let's have a look at Group 2. So this is where it's going to get interesting. So you had Namibia and Scotland, 2 lesser ranked teams. Interesting how these 2 teams got into the same group here. So you had a mix of like pretty poor teams and really strong teams. And we're going to see what happened here. So in this game, this is a crucial game. India and Pakistan. Look at these rankings. India 2, Pakistan 3. So 2 big teams here. And look what happened. Pakistan won the toss. They elected to field, obviously. And Pakistan won by 10 wickets. They didn't lose a single wicket. They beat India. So a huge win for Pakistan. So did the coin toss make a huge difference here? Seemingly it did. Because there's no way India should have lost by 10 wickets. Crazy. And Afghanistan and Scotland. Afghanistan won this one. Now Afghanistan are much stronger than Scotland. Scotland are in the second tier. Scotland had a great run in the previous round, but they were up against poor teams. So as soon as they hit a good team, Afghanistan trashed them. So this is an example of a team batting first and winning. But here we see once again we go back to winning by wickets. Pakistan and New Zealand, 2 strong teams. The team who batted second won. Here we go again. Scotland losing to Namibia. The 2 poor sides of the tournament. It was a team who batted second that won. Again, here we go. Pakistan beat Afghanistan by wickets. And again here now, Afghanistan much better than Namibia. So the team who batted second lost the game, which was Namibia. Now, interestingly, Afghanistan won the toss and decided to bat first. So they were so confident of winning that they decided to bat first. And it was a good choice. They destroyed Namibia. Look at it. Namibia could only get less than 100 runs, 98 runs. So a big win there. But you'd expect that even though Afghanistan batted first. Now here, another huge game in the tournament. India, New Zealand. New Zealand won the toss, elected the field, and they beat India. So New Zealand ranked 4. So 2 strong teams here, India and New Zealand. And lo and behold, it's the team who bats second that wins the game. So the team that won the toss won the game. And here is Pakistan. And again, against a really poor Namibia team, Pakistan decided to bat first. And it was the right choice for them. And they won easily. If they had batted second, they probably would have won this game easily anyway. So looking at this, a lot of the games where the teams batting first won were much stronger. So here's an interesting one. Scotland won the toss and elected to field. So Scotland, a much weaker team than New Zealand. But New Zealand won by 16 runs. So again, it's another example of the team who bat second are a lot poorer and they lost. So they lost against New Zealand. This one, India lost the toss again, but they won this one against Afghanistan. Now let's look at Afghanistan. They're in the top tier, but they're towards the bottom, 7th. So this was a good win for India, finally winning a game, but it was too late for them. They lost against New Zealand and Pakistan. And again, here's another game where New Zealand won by runs. They batted first, but again, it was against a really poor side. So India fielded against Scotland, so that one was the best team batting second. India were always going to win this one. And again, New Zealand were always going to beat Afghanistan. They batted second. Now, interestingly, Afghanistan won the toss and elected to bat. So was that a good choice? Probably not. The game was held in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was skewed towards, the coin toss. So Afghanistan, probably a bad decision to bat. Pakistan beating Scotland again. Scotland winning the toss, losing because Pakistan are much stronger. And India won the toss and elected to field. And so a clear huge win for India against the poor side. So to me, looking at the results, we have a lot of the games where the team bats first are the strong team who wins. So it really, to me, looking at the results, it hits home the whole concept that the coin toss and batting second makes a huge, huge difference. I've no idea why Afghanistan won the toss here and elected to bat. Really poor decision. New Zealand won this game easily. Now let's look at the knockout stage, because this shows really how flawed it was. We had England against New Zealand and Pakistan against Australia. And look at this. New Zealand won the toss, elected to field, and New Zealand win by 5 wickets. Second semi-final, Australia won the toss and elected to field, and Australia won by 5 wickets. So the team batting second won the 2 semi-finals. They won the toss, they won the games. And look at the final. Australia won the toss and elected to field. And sure enough, Australia won the tournament by beating New Zealand in the final. So it was coin tosses that won this. There's no doubt about it. This 20 over format is so flawed. The batting conditions in Dubai and Abu Dhabi to a lesser extent really made a huge difference. And the final was in Dubai. One of the semis was in Dubai and other semi-final was in Abu Dhabi. So the venues where the coin toss really made a huge difference actually hosted the semi-finals and the final. So it really, now, if they were played in these venues, who knows? But we can see in most of the close games between teams that were evenly ranked, it was the teams who batted second won the games. And really most of the games where the teams batting first won were really, really strong teams that would have won regardless of whether they're batting first or second. So there you go, guys. I hope I've proven to you that 20 over cricket is total garbage. Cricket is a flawed sport, and I'm just being honest here. But I like the statistics. The statistics are cool. That's why I made the video. See you guys later.